And then hold on a second. Yeah. All right, Chris.
How can I
Get us
get full
started.
screen? How can I get full screen? No, not me, but my actual phone. Like I got
Oh,
like,
I don't know.
dang, I want to push y'all up so I can see everybody.
I have no idea.
I can only see you. I don't see Dr. T.
I have no. You got me on that one.
You got two boxes up, just me and you.
Actually, it should be it like Bridges. You see all three of us?
I do. I'm not
Yeah,
looking
me
at you though.
too.
I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah, it's all three of us down here. I'm not sure how. I don't know, man. That's a deep one. So graphics show
We just had to
video.
listen for his voice.
Yeah, man.
That's a sermon right there.
Well, he did that.
All right, here we go. It finally let me scroll up. Now everybody's in here. Awesome.
Hey, I'm gonna turn your volume up some too, because you're kind of low.
Why does it get stuck? Shucks. All right, I'm gonna rock it right there. Cool. All right, let's rock it.
All right, bro. So you, man.
I'm looking in the right place, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome everybody. This is a personal brand video for Dr. Terrance Bridges, and we are going to look into what started the bridges, what built the foundation for the bridges. My man John Gertin is in the building right now, and Dr. T is here. You guys are in Indianapolis, and I'm here in Nashville. I wish I could be with you guys. We could all be having a good time after this Zoom. But let's introduce Dr. Terrence Bridges. Let's ask him to give us a little insight as to who he is.
My name is Terrance Bridges. I'm about building bridges for people, building bridges from where they are to where they are trying to go, and fulfilling and connecting to their purpose, discovering, connecting to themselves, first of all, and then being able to connect to others to build those healthy relationships and interdependence with one another to be able to continue to push forward in terms of what they feel called to do, what they feel destined to do.
Hey, I'm gonna cut that. Hey, cut that, and we're gonna start over. Let's start over. Dr. T, I'm gonna ask you to be yourself right now. You went straight broadcast professional on me. Yeah, I want you
Really?
to.
That's
I want.
I was being
Yeah, yeah,
myself.
yeah. You went straight at da ba 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 ba. Oh no no no. Come on, and you know, if you mess up or you stutter, it's fine. Just hang out with us tonight.
You're talking about my voice?
No, I'm just talking about the way you in the video right now, how you interacting with me right now.
No.
You ready? That's what it is. Somebody messing with you. Who is that? John.
That's me, man. Because he looked like he was out of focus, and it's hard to see. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna do this. That looks better, don't it? Now you can see everything. Look like the thing. There it goes. The things in the background was more in focus than you were. Follow what I'm saying?
Mm.
There we go. That's it. Now he's in focus. All right, you can go ahead.
All right, we went Dr. Terrance Bridges, the man that creates bridges for relationships. No matter what side of the spectrum you're on, he has a path for you to get on the right side. And we have him tonight, and we're going to spend a little time with getting to know him as his personal brand. We understand that he's a very successful man and a man of the cloth, a father, a husband, and man of education, and uh, travels the world, an author as well. And but there's a personal side to him. There's a side that he doesn't really show as much. And guess what, guys? You guys get the opportunity to meet that side tonight. Meet the personal brand side of Dr. Terrance Bridges. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. Dr.
What's up?
T,
What's
how
up?
are you? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm
All right.
peaceful and peaceable.
All right,
Both.
good. I got a
Yes.
couple. I got a couple of questions for you. I want to ask a couple of questions. I know we got John Gurton on the side. He's riding with us as well. He'll pop in here a little bit. But could you give us a little insight as to your humble beginnings? How you got started with what you're so passionate about and creating bridges for people?
Wow. I would say that for me as an individual, my start, my foundation was with my family, with my faith, growing up, um, just having my mother continue to pour into my life, not only in terms of being there, but praying for me, praying over me, having my family, my extended family, my grandparents very much involved in my development, who I was as an individual. And then growing up, just I was a church boy. I definitely was a church boy. I'm not a preacher's kid, but I was a kid preacher. So very early on, I recognized and embraced my calling to ministry. However, I soon found myself in a place, in a position where I became uh, somewhat of a poster child because of the tight knit community that I was a part of. But in becoming that poster child, thinking that I had to be perfect. And when I realized, or the revelation came, hey, you're not perfect. That for me was a humbling beginning of this journey of evolution of who I was, and taking the failures that I experienced in my life and learning not only from those failures, but learning that those failures were not final, and being able to construct and to craft lessons for myself that I found to be beneficial to others through conversations of transparency and vulnerability, and really connecting to other people. And connecting to other people helped me to connect to my name and connect to my purpose. And that's what it is. Bridges. It's about connecting. It's about building those relationships all across the spectrum and helping other people to fulfill their life purpose by connecting them with those resources and those things that will be valuable in their own self discovery and their relationship with their self, first of all, and
Yeah.
most of all, their relationship with their creator and that relationship with the community that is around them. I would say I'm a good connection.
Yeah.
I'm a good connection in terms of being perfect for imperfect people,
I love it.
because I am not one who claims perfection myself, but I believe that that is what resonates with me from the pain of my past, from the failure of who I've been as a person, and then learning from that and growing forward. Because failure is not final. Failure is not final.
Uh, I would like to ask this question. Can you share with us one of the hardest challenges that kind of created the place that you're in now? What was one of the things that you had to overcome that could have took you out, but you learned from it?
One.
We can talk about one. I mean, maybe there are several. There probably are several things, but like, what's the one that would be number one? You got a list from 1 to 10 or whatever, but that what's that number one thing that this really right here? This is where I want to check out, like Paul, and say I want to be with Christ now.
One of the things I've always been passionate about is my children. Being there for my children, being there with my children, loving on my children. And when I woke up to my oldest son's mother screaming on the phone, he's dead. For me, that was a life altering moment. That was a life jolting moment. In fact, had it not been for the existence of my other two children, I wouldn't have wanted to live any longer. In that moment of time, I had to evaluate, what is my life about? What is my legacy? What is it that I'm leaving behind? I know that you've heard many like speeches about that small dash between the time you're born and the time that you die. But although it's small, it makes a major difference. And so, what is it that my life would speak to? What is it that I would be known for leaving in regards to a legacy and living a legacy that would not only honor the memory of my son, but also uh, be able to transform the lives of other people who are around me and before me?
How do we transform our lives to you saying you are the bridge maker? How do we get from the side of I don't know my purpose, I don't know what I'm here to be doing, I've had a lot of failures, I'm on this side. How can I start making my way over to the other side? Do you have
There are
steps for that?
several. There are several things that I think about immediately, like with your question. Number one is to build a bridge anywhere or to go anywhere, to connect to anything. The first thing you have to do is you have to take a step. You know, every journey, I think it's an old Chinese proverb that says every journey begins with the first step. So it's not necessarily having all of the strides in line and together, but being willing to take a first step in terms of moving forward from where you are, moving forward from failure, moving forward from hurt, moving forward from that life jolt. For me, my pain fed into my purpose. And a lot of people, they want to dismiss the pain of their experience. But in fact, the pain of your experience could actually be the very thing that is speaking and resonating with the purpose that you're to fulfill in your life and really to be able to help other people. I think part of me being able to help families, part of me being able to help other fathers, part of me being able to help those in terms of even their faith, all of those things developed out of a place of pain for me and painful loss. And really, with that painful loss, I gained perspective on the shortness of life, but also the magnitude to which I can make impact if I focused on legacy and focused on building beyond where I am to where I need to go in order to make positive impact for those who are around me, ultimately for my children that I love, and to leave a legacy behind that extends beyond my name, but actually makes a difference in the world that is around me. And so I say to people who are constantly dealing with the pain of failure from your past, remember that your failure is not final, but also remember that your pain speaks to purpose, and be able to understand and discover through the painful experiences of life, what are the lessons that have been learned, and how can I take those lessons and help others? Really, that's what it's all about. It's the interdependence. I think of the old African proverb, I am because we are. I am because we are. And so, really, what makes the individual is the collective contribution of community. And so, when we can learn not to be independent, but be more interdependent and learn from the experiences of each other and share our story and share our experiences, that's our purpose. That's who we are. That's at the basis of our building our bridge. Starts with one
Wow.
step. Starts with one brick at a time.
That sounds so easy to say, and it's easy to see, but really doing it is the that's where the work comes in. And how much work is that as far as mindset?
Everything, like you said, everything is easy to say, everything is easy to see uh, when it's set before you or as someone else. A lot of times, the hardest person to see at the table is yourself. And I've actually heard that stated by multiple people and faith leaders alike, that really self reflection often is hard to do because you can't see yourself. You can see everybody else, but you can't see yourself. And so you see everybody else building their bridges, but you don't see your bridge that is before you because you're immersed in it. You're there. And so the mentality has to be to pull away, to come away, even in the midst of work, even in the midst of investing in myself and discovering who I am as an individual. Sometimes also pulling away and allowing other people to speak into my life. That impacts your mentality. So having key relationships and key interdependent relationships to where you have others who speak to what they see in you and not only looking at what you see in yourself, because it's hard to see yourself. And so I think part of molding our mentality is those key relationships with other people in other spaces, in other places, and having people that we connect with that are where we want to go, not
Hmm.
where we are, but where we want to go. And you would be surprised at the number of people, even that I've reached out to and been connected with. And I believe, just over time, one of the people that's here right now, John Gurton, has been a major connection from the time that I was a teenager until the time that I've been a young adult and now emerging into an established family. There is something that I see and something that I have learned continuously in my interactions with him, with others, with those who are the older generation, and then some younger people than me who are more established than me in terms of careers and things of that nature. Just being able to talk to them, being able to engage with them, being able to interact with them helps to mold my mentality. Who am I connecting with? Part of connecting to destiny is connecting with people, learning to connect with people and to value and build those healthy relationships.
Yeah, the video was frozen for some of that. So stay there, Bridges. Don't move.
I don't know if I'll be able to repeat.
Well, the main thing was I didn't want you to stop talking because what you were saying was you were flowing. So I mean we could still use the audio, but let me see what. Let me come downstairs real quick because your camera, you're like not frozen in one spot, but you're frozen in another spot.
I'm trying not to be uptight either, but like I feel like I'm talking to this glass rather than to you, Chris.
Yeah.
So you talking about you went straight broadcast preacher mode? Yeah, because I'm in the studio by myself.
I thought you was looking at me, straight looking at me, because I'm
No,
looking straight at you. I
no.
got you. I got you. Okay, all right. I can understand now. I got you.
Uh,
Yeah, but he got to be able to connect. Like he should be able to see my facial expressions and stuff. Like that kind of helps him preach. Amen. Somebody.
Recalibrate.
Back. I'm going to reset it, but yeah, it was looking fine, and then what I do with the remote? Is it back?
It's back.
All right, let me get it set up. That was strange because you were available. I mean, you were in one spot. It was great, and then another spot it was like, huh. I also don't like the fact that this was here. Now I don't like the fact that it's right by your head. Okay. All right. Is it not frozen now?
It wasn't froze when he was doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
So maybe it was just me.
Yes.
Let's pray so.
There. All right. You good?
Yep.
All right. That's another reason why I didn't want to stop you, because it could just be me,
Does it look like I'm looking at you, Chris?
Yeah.
It looks perfect.
Okay.
The way you're doing it is like perfect.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna stay in the background because I got some other stuff moving around behind me. So just pick back up and keep it moving, okay?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Hold on 1 second. Hold up. Just need to get a new connection from him. Oh, okay. Let me kill this.
Yeah, so this is just me then, because he's still frozen down here, but he's not down there. So I'm not even gonna worry about it, because I know y'all don't see him frozen. So as long as you don't, good. I'm gonna go off screen. I'm going off screen.
Hold on. Give me a 1 minute. The guy that's working on my computer remote, he lost connection.
Okay. All right.
Is it 9:12? Huh. 9:13, 9:12. All right.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go
All
right
right.
ahead.
And so the information that is needed to create these different mindsets, what would you say a person needs to dwell on or read to get themselves out of these clutches or these depressed areas, what if a person don't feel like coming out of it, but they know they need to come out of it? And I'm trying to ask a question for a friend, which is myself, because there are some challenges that I'm looking at as I think about my age now. I'm 51 years old, and there's some things that I still want to accomplish that I haven't accomplished, but I've seen other people my age accomplish that and more. What would be the bridge to start getting what I want, and without it being something that I'm, magically trying to, do three uh, affirmations in the morning in the mirror and blah, blah, blah. We talked about that step, making those steps. What are the steps to start getting the type of life that you want or the lifestyle that you want? There's a lot I just threw at you, Doc. So, just take that 1,000 piece puzzle and try to figure something out. Get me an answer back.
I think there are several things that can be done to help to build the bridge and connect to your destiny, to your place of purpose, to your future. And one of the things that you have to clearly understand is exposure is important. Exposure, moving beyond just existing in your bubble and in your space where you are, and connecting to other people. Again, connecting in meaningful ways and in meaningful relationships with other people. When people hear the word relationship, a lot of people immediately go to thinking about intimacy and physical intimacy, or a life partner, or somebody that I am sharing my emotions with. That is not what I mean by relationship. What I mean by relationship is establishing connection with other people that is meaningful in terms of your life mission, in terms of who you are. Now, the reality is it's a conundrum to take the first step when you don't feel like taking the first step. It's kind of like you're tired because you don't exercise enough, but you're tired so you don't exercise. But if
Yeah.
you exercise, you'll gain more energy. So
Okay.
really the motivation has to become not only you pushing yourself, but allowing those meaningful relationships that you develop with others to be able to push you forward from where you are. But then also understanding that your life pace and your life purpose does not look like anybody else's. So do not become discouraged when you look at your life and your life doesn't seem to be in the same space or place that someone else's is, because your bridge is not somebody else's bridge. And you have to be clear about that. You have to understand that. But then not only exposure, I think education is important. Education, not in terms of necessarily having to go back to school and get another degree. Now, for some of you, that would be the case. But when we talk about education, what information are you taking in that helps you to develop in the area that is in line with your purpose, in line with your person, in line with your passion and who you are? What do you think about without thinking? What wakes you up in the morning? What comes to you in the midst of your dreams? What invades your thoughts without an invitation? That's passion. That's purpose. It's not necessarily the cloud or the sky cracking back and cracking open, and this great, ginormous hand coming out of the sky with the James Earl Jones voice speaking to you, telling you what to do. It's in you already. It's in you. And all you have to do is tap into what is in you. And what's going to help you to do that is that exposure. What's going to help you to do that is education. and taking in the information that resonates with that thing that wakes you up, with that thing that's in your thoughts, with that thing that comes without an invitation, with that thing that comes without you thinking. Even so, that is it. I think a lot of times people too, like if we're not careful, over analysis is what can put us in a state of paralysis, and just trying to over analyze what everything means rather than simply just walking one step at a time, walking forward and not trying to overthink everything, but what is in you, allowing that simply to come out of you.
Yes, sir. Wow. That was a lot right there. And I'll need time to keep chewing on that. And I think that's a game changer right there. You gave some great points. I'm gonna have to take notes on that. I love the exposure. I love the education piece. Um, that's good, John. I'm out of questions, bro. You got anything you want to add to this? Because what we got is that's a lot.
Man, my hold on. Hold on.
We got some good segments out of that. That's
All
pretty
right.
sharp there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Man, I'm up here just like, well, I want to get into some of the some questions that we've maybe dealt with in the past as well, mainly around the ideas of, you know, Bridges, man, you really have overcome tremendous obstacles. In other words, you don't look like what you've been through. And I don't know how to process how important it is or not so important it is for people to be able to look at you and see or smell smoke on you because you've been in the fire. That may not be important. But at what point do you see a lane to connect with someone in a way that they may not even expect because they had no idea that you have overcome the kind of challenges you've overcome? Like, where's the door for you? What is the door that opens that allows you to pour into somebody in a way that you know is going to transform their thinking? What is that door that often presents itself for you to walk through to help somebody build a bridge?
I think about points of pain. Pain is a person that does not discriminate, doesn't discriminate on the basis of age,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't discriminate on the basis of gender, doesn't discriminate on the basis of social status. And many times, rather than embracing what comes from our pain, we reject the pain altogether and anything that it would bring, not realizing that some pain helps us to connect to other people. Not that we invite pain. I'm not saying that we should be sadistic or anything of the sort. But because pain is going to come to us all, what is it that I can gain? What is it that I can grab? What is it that I can grow from in the midst of that painful experience? And what has offered me an opportunity to connect with other people is points that have been very painful for me. I think one of the greatest pains for me happened in terms of having the American dream of being with one person and having the wife and the 2.5 kids with the white dog and the picket fence with the brick home. I was going down my checklist, and I actually had those things. But the painful point came when I lost several of those things, including the idea of this perfect relationship, including the idea of being with this one person for the rest of my life. And it didn't happen. And so experiencing divorce was a point of pain for me. And not only divorce, but it was the death of relationship. It was the death of connection. But being able to use that to look within myself rather than looking at other people to make me happy. And I think about the same time being diagnosed with the debilitating disease of multiple sclerosis and seeing other people who are dealing with that. You can't tell. It's not written on our foreheads. It's not written on our wrist. It's not on our ID cards, but there is the continual reminder of living with that disease and having to overcome the debilitating effects of disease. I think that helps me to connect with some people. Again, pain. Then not only divorce and disease, I think about just dealing with depression from those things and understanding that, you know, every individual has an experience. Every individual is human in some way. And in their humanity, being able to speak to them, to recognize and to realize that that pain does not have to control you. That pain does not have to dominate you. And while you may have experiences, those experiences don't necessarily have to have you. I think about it like, you know, I have multiple sclerosis, but multiple sclerosis does not have me. It does not control my life. It does not control who I am, because what is internal to me gives me strength. And what I experience externally, even though I experience those things externally, the internal strength that I have is what fortifies me and keeps me going. When things hit the bridge, it shakes. It shakes. And I think it's the vulnerability of the shaking and other people seeing the shaking that lets them know, hey, I can connect with this. But at the same time, when I'm shaking, I'm not falling. So I think that's important.
You know, I was talking to some. You use the vernacular of pain and how, in other words, it has its purpose. Uh, it allows you to, to tap in to destiny when you embrace the things that God has designed for your life. And I get that. I was talking with someone the other day, and in the conversation, I want you to kind of drill down on this concept that she had gone through some trauma in a relationship, and then at the same time remained in connection with the person that the trauma was involved with, if you feel what I'm saying. So, you know how in some relationships, when they break down, two people go two different directions. In this case, they didn't. They stayed in proximity. And what was apparent to me, and this is what I want you to deal with, is that she had become anesthesia for this other person's pain, to the point where they weren't grieving the realness of the loss, because as long as this person was around, they were able to function and never deal with the fact that I'm hurting, but this person, does this make sense what I'm saying? So
yes,
so they weren't really dealing with what was really going on. And I wonder, when you talk about you use this vernacular of pain and how pain might have its purpose, what are those things around us that become the numbing agent that keeps us from wrestling with the reality? Man, I just got cut, right? Which is the purpose of anesthesia, is to like numb you to the point where you can't tell they're doing surgery on you. You can't tell they're taking a tooth out. Like, what are some of those things that are around us that can actually numb us to the realities of what's going on and keep us from moving beyond that because we're not dealing with what's really going on?
You know, I keep on talking about connect, connect, connect. But part of connecting is also learning to disconnect. Disconnect from things that are toxic and things that are detrimental to your development. But the puzzle and the mystery of it all is that a lot of times people who are being deceived don't recognize the deception, or people who are connected to something that is toxic don't immediately recognize the toxic levels until they grow to the point to where things stop functioning. I would liken it to your physical body and understanding your physical body. There are triggers within your system that let you know when toxicity is increasing in your system. There are things that happen. Your temperature rises. You might become extremely fatigued. You might even start to regurgitate, not be able to hold things down. When you look at your life, psychologically speaking, even, and your connections with toxic situations and with toxic people, as that toxicity increases, it changes who you are. And you have to be mindful of those changes. Those changes are not always positive. And then things that you were suppressing and trying to hold down and hold in, now all of a sudden you find yourself regurgitating without any sense of control. There's toxicity somewhere. There's a disconnection that needs to take place. And a lot of times, our psychological state of mind and that interdependence that we develop in terms of toxic connections, we don't realize it without those who are outside of us telling us what we need, but then also looking at our own signs within our psychological state that say, hey, something is not right here. Something is off. It takes self-reflection, but not only self-reflection, it takes feedback from others who are around us. I don't believe that everything that you are connected to is traumatic or toxic to who you are. However, when you hear that message from all those other connections that are around you, that this particular connection needs to be addressed, and maybe you need to disconnect from that connection, I would say listen to the signs, see the symptoms, and know what you need to do to grow.
Hold on. I see him.
Was that too general?
No, that was good. You know, I want to ask you this question because for sometimes you think that there are people that's walking around with the S on their chest and nothing, they don't have any kryptonite. Can you give us an example of how, when you face a challenge or you face establishing a new bridge, what what is your map to that or the blueprint for that? You talked about your pain situations. Um, and as we continue to grow through life, we're going to continue to have other situations of pain because we got to continue to grow. We got to keep growing. If you're not going through something, then you're dead. So let's say you have to deal with something that you're faced with. What's one of the things that you do to kind of start building or fortifying your mindset and not allowing depression to come in or just getting stuck?
So what is it that I do to get unstuck? Is that
Well, what is
kind
it
of what you're
before?
asking?
Like, let's say tomorrow that something happens that, God forbid, all you wake up and all your money's gone out of your bank account. What is one of the first things you're gonna do? Because I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start cussing and trying to figure out what happened, and then I'm gonna start thinking about all the responsibilities that are going to be knocking at my door. It's the end of the month, the first of the month. I know rent is gonna be due. Uh, how do I keep from spinning out, telling out?
I think the first step, really, everybody's going to be shaken. And like you said, even if we walk around with what seems like an S on our chest, everybody has kryptonite. In those moments of vulnerability, in those moments of weakness, one of the first steps in solving the problem, or one of the first steps in healing, is to recognize that you're sick, to recognize that you're shaken, to recognize that you have a weakness, and identify the weakness, identify the place, identify the space that is draining you. It's okay to accept the reality of not being perfect. It's okay to accept the reality of being weak. It's okay to accept the reality of being shaken, because once you accept that reality, then you're able to move forward from that reality to create a new experience for yourself. Not that everything is going to be and they live happily ever after, but understanding that you are in a situation is the first step to getting out of the situation. Understanding that you are dealing with being shaken is the first step of coming back to stability. Understanding that you are weak is the first step of regaining strength. And I think by looking at and identifying the problem, then I can begin to craft my way towards the solution. Also, I think it's important that you have other people that you can call on, that other people that you can reach out to. Again, no man is an island unto himself. I don't remember who said that quote, but that is become a famous or
Mhm.
infamous quote that many have given. And the reality is that there is nothing that I can do that is apart from some sense of connection to someone else. Thinking right now, like this chair that I'm sitting in, I didn't make this chair. I'm thinking right now, the people that I am working with in terms of even being able to communicate, I didn't build the camera. I didn't make this microphone, and so it's important to understand that there is interdependence, whether we want it or not. There's interdependence in terms of other people and being connected, but then also value what other people are bringing. And even in those situations when you feel like you're at a loss, there are assets within your environment that you can pull from and pull back.
I want to ask a question real quick about the shift in society as it relates to things like talking about vulnerability. I mean, I was just in a conversation, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago. My wife and I were doing a marriage session, and one of the comments that someone made was that we can talk about things today that years ago we wouldn't talk about. We talk about things today, and even men are able to even express fears and things like that we did not used to be able to do. Talk a little bit about, for me, the importance of being able to tap in to that level of vulnerability and not being, so hyper masculating as a man that, you got this outer shell that you're trying to create for other people to see, and how really detrimental that can be to your own mental health. You know what I mean? Talk a little bit about how important that is to be able to you sort of move beyond and open up and express some things that could help you, move forward by putting all that macho, if you will. I don't know how common the word macho is anymore, but put that macho stuff aside and actually getting real about what's going on in your life.
You know what I'd immediately think of with what you're talking about is that what you suppress is very much going to be what you obsess about, because there's no space or place that you can hide always. I mean, I liken it to getting dressed. I mean, the vulnerability, transparency is getting naked, but you don't get naked everywhere. You're not vulnerable and you're not transparent everywhere. But you know that there are spaces, that there are places that it is safe for you to be vulnerable, that is safe for you to be transparent, it's safe for you to be naked. And it's important for you to be naked in some spaces because there's some things that you need to expose in order for them to be cleaned properly. But that doesn't mean that you do it in a public setting. And so I think really what we have to understand in terms of our culture and where we are now, there are mixed messages as to where we should be naked. And so you have people getting naked on social media and on their platforms, their personal platforms, becoming vulnerable and transparent in ways that are detrimental and harming to them rather than helping them. But then at the same time, we cannot be clothed everywhere and anywhere that we want to be clothed, because there's some things that have to be cleaned. There's some things that have to be exposed in order for them to be dealt with, in order for them to be maintained, in order for them to be made better. And what you suppress and don't deal with, at some point, that suppression is going to become an obsession for you, because you cannot continue to pack down and put down what it is that is in you, because at some point it's going to explode. And so I think really in terms of redefining who we are as individuals, the S on your chest, whether that's the strong Black man or whether that's the strong Black woman, and being strong for everybody else is understanding that you have to be willing to be weak at times so that you can get what you need in order to be able to pour into other people. Can't pour from an empty cup. You got to be willing to pour into your own life and expose the areas of your own life that need exposure to be able to maintain them or to make them better. But that's not going to be everywhere.
Right.
And that's not going to be with everyone or just anyone. But there are spaces and there are places that are safe. They need to be identified, and you need to take advantage of them.
Man, but I'm like, how in the world do you develop those places that you can trust? You know what I mean? I almost get a sense that there are some people that by the time they know they're in trouble, the runway is so short to really, get some people around you. And it may have been these people around you may have been telling you for years, dude, hey man, you need to deal with this, you need to deal with that. They may have been telling you for years. But by the time you recognize it, the runway could be so short to actually deal with it, and to your point, everybody can't talk to you, can't. And then let's talk about people like pastors and stuff. And then this, people like me that have been lead pastors, and you can't tell everybody everything. And so you trying to figure out where you go with this.
Right.
How do you, I'm just saying, Bridges, like how, that's a conundrum when you're saying on one hand, bruh, you got to recognize that you can't pour for empty cup. And I'm sitting there watching this pastor head down a road where, man, you're going to blow your brains out if you don't take a sabbatical. But they're like, where do I turn? I mean, how do you deal with that, Bridges?
I don't want to preach.
Preach, sir. Preach.
I'm like, go ahead, my brother. Go ahead. Go right on. Take your time.
There needs to be evaluation of what you have. Number one, let me tell you this. What you have is greater than what you do not have. Because of the way that we have been enculturated, because of the way that we have been developed in our society, we are taught to be cynical of everyone, everything, suspecting of everyone and everything. Not that I can trust everyone and everything, but understand that there are people in your circle now that you've told things to and you haven't heard them again. There are people in your circle now that maybe don't look like what help is for somebody else, but they could be helpful to you. I think about that great leader. There's a great leader actually in Hebrew history, in the Bible. His name was Moses. Moses was on the backside of the mountain, in the desert, in a place where there was nobody else. God appears to Moses, tells Moses that he wants him to go before an entire nation and a national leader to release his people. Moses says, I'm not equipped for that. I don't have anybody in my circle to do that. And he starts talking about all the things that he does not have. And while he's talking about all the things that he does not have, God asks him, what's in your hand? I got this staff. I got this stick in my hand. Well, that's going to be the very thing that you're going to use. That same staff, that same stick was what he took before this national leader and threw it before this national leader. He became a snake. That same stick is what he took and he put into the water, and the water became blood. That same stick is what he took and lifted it up and prayed to God, and it parted the Red Sea. It was a stick, but it's what was in his hand. And I think sometimes because we're looking for what we see with our eyes that's before us, that we forget what's right there near us. And sometimes the help that we need, it's not far away. It's right there. It's close by. It's in our hand. It's in our circle. Evaluate what you have in your circle. But then also understand that there are professionals and people who have education with them. And with that education and with that information, they could be able to help you to move from where you are to where you're trying to go. Thing is, we have to cry out for help. I cannot. Well, I just think about what Grandma said. Grandma said a closed mouth does not get fed. There has to be a place and a point to where I make it known to the safe places that are within my circle that I need help. You say, well, I don't have anybody in my circle. Go back again, evaluate, because there's someone there, and you have what you need in your hand. May not look like everybody else's, but you have what you need in your hand or in a hand stretch away from you.
You got something, Chris, because all I'm going to say is, and I can be done with it on this one, I just get a sense that kind of like, I think it was Elijah that was depressed and ran away, and because of the, ran out to the desert and got fed by the ravens and all that. Was that Elijah or Elisha? Which one was it?
Elijah.
Elijah. And runs into the cave and basically keeps saying over and over and over again, and she gonna kill me and I'm the only one left. There's nobody left. And ultimately God comes to him and says, go back. And there's a whole host of people who are there waiting, to help you do what I've called you to do. And that's a sense that I have. But I also feel like there's this process that we seemingly take ourselves through where we as individuals, God has to really isolate us at times in order for us to recognize, like, oh, snap. Like I got to rely on God here. I got to rely on God to really speak to me about what I need to do. Or in that particular case, allow God to remind me of what you just said, Bridges, which is you're not by yourself. You're not alone. You don't need to give up. I call it the graffiti moment. When the monkey hits Simba on the head and says, you've forgotten who you are. I just feel like what you do, Bridges, is not create anything for anybody or for anyone. You just try to help them remember who they are and remember what they have and remember what they can do. Would you say that that's accurate?
I would very much say that that's accurate. Every asset that is needed to develop and to build who you are is within you. Now it takes things outside of you oftentimes to see what is in you. But I think it's important. The example that you use of Elijah, he was in 1 Kings chapter 18, he was on top of the mountain. He called down fire from heaven, and he was slaying, literally slaying. He was killing the game. But in the very next moment, you turn the page on his story, you see him in a state of depression, and he wants it all to be over. And his very words are, it is enough. I've had enough. And in that moment, I think there's something important to learn from his life lesson and from what happened there. Because at that moment, he was tired. At that moment, he was depressed. At that moment, he was malfunctioning. And I think that it is important that when something is malfunctioning, something is not working or operating correctly, the first step, they say, when you call the customer service line for any technology or device that is not working, they ask you the simplest question, but it's often what people have not thought of. Did you unplug and restart the system? Unplug. You're not holding up the world. Gravity will still continue to work without your hand. The world will still continue to revolve without you having to feel like you're holding the world up by your shoulders, by the strength of your hands. It's important that you unplug, that you step back, not that you become unhealthily detached from reality, but that you allow yourself time to rest and refresh, to unplug. Then I see in that experience with this great historical figure, again, in Hebrew culture and in the lives of countless others throughout history. Even still, we read about him to this day. But I believe one of the things that kept him going, propelled him to continue going in his purpose, was not only his ability to unplug, but another simple thing that he did. He ate. He wanted to die. Then God told him to eat. When we are able to recharge, to replenish ourselves, something as simple as eating. What are you eating? Not only what are you consuming in terms of with your mouth, and I'm not trying to be metaphorical with it, but literally, what are you taking into your body to give you energy, to give you strength? Because a lot of what is happening in your mind is because of what you are inflicting upon your body, or what you're not giving to your body in terms of rest, in terms of nutrition, but also what are you consuming? What are you eating? What are you consuming from what you're watching, what you're listening to, the messages that you're allowing yourself to believe? Because you are what you eat. And so if you consume good things will come out of you. If you consume toxic things, toxicity will build in you. And so you have to be careful about what you consume. And the last thing that he said to him was, hey, there is a whole nother group of powerful people and history makers that you don't know, but they are with you. They're in the same position that you're in. Understand that there is nothing in your life or nothing in your experience in which you are alone and you're the only one having to deal with it. There are other people that are dealing with that. And the thing is, when you can begin to look, begin to investigate, and begin to research those people who are having similar experiences, simple as a search on the internet, on your computer, on Google, and be able to connect with those people, connecting with people who may be in the similar or same situation, could be a source of strength for who you are. And at this point, I am mentally exhausted.
Let him off the hook, John. Let him off the hook. We got enough. We got enough, brother.
I don't want to see preachy and churchy all the way, you know.
No, it wasn't.
But faith comes through.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, that's good. We got an hour, a good solid hour of wisdom. And, honestly, you said some things, you said the same thing, like a couple different ways. And so, Chris, I believe that this is, and I'll send you the link to it because this is going straight up on, like I said, it's going straight up on YouTube right now. So I think I think it was great. I think it was great. And there's a lot of nuggets in there, man. We can, we can take
definitely. Yes.
So, I don't want to wear him out no more.
Can I come upstairs?
Yeah, you come. I'm gonna end this right now, Chris. I'm gonna end it right now, and then we can. I'll send you the link once it gets done processing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All
Peace,
right.
Chris.
Thanks, man. Appreciate y'all.